Hi everyone, Artemis here, and today we're actually not gonna play anything. Rather, we will discuss one interesting topic that I got interested in talking about. And today's topic is gonna be the lore in Incredibox fan-made versions. Specifically, as I understand, we're gonna talk about the ones that are in the Scratch. I will say that I'm not really that familiar with all this Scratch community thing, what is there, what is popular there and what is not. I just know the basic stuff. The idea for me to make such a video actually came from recently made post from Mister on his YouTube channel. So yeah, here's the post about it, which was actually made 3 days ago, but you know me, I'm pretty slow in making stuff in time. But let's actually read it. Possibly controversial rant time, everyone's favorite. Sorry if this comes off as really passive aggressive, I'm just a bit disappointed I feel. I have a challenge for all mod makers when it comes to Incredibox mods with lore. I'm not sure if anyone else is having a problem with this, but lore lately in Incredibox mods has gotten so basic and paint by numbers that it depresses the fuck out of me. Every single mod lately that I have played with lore tells the exact same story just told in a different way. It's like a fucking Mad Lib. Every lore mod is about this tragic incident has happened and here is the aftermath. And it's the same shit every fucking time. It's about a virus or disease going around and corrupting and killing people. Or it's the super edgy thing of an over-the-top serial killer or a black goo that comes from a laboratory that is also corrupting and killing people. Like, I just feel like nobody knows how to write a story that does anything new. Nobody can write a mod lore about like a high schooler's life, or maybe a cheating scandal, superheroes, GTA style criminals, a western, maybe a cool family drama. If it's not, ooh, a deadly virus has infected the world, it can't be made. And it bums me out, because there's mods that look super interesting and I really look forward to it, but then the music is an afterthought, because they spend the whole time creating an overly long and drawn out lore about some horrible tragic incident or some virus about the same thing you've already seen in 8 other mods. The horror mod Lamendo is an amazing example. It's a horror mod based off of Japanese folklore characters and it kicks ass. The music is on point, the designs are fantastic, the atmosphere is great, and on top of that, it didn't have any lore. The reason this is weird is because Lamendo is the one of the horror Incredibox mods that actually could use lore to tell its story. Now take Lamendo, make all the characters original and give them all the same backstory about a tragic event that when happened with the same corrupted, yes no, or dead, yes no, and now the mod is generic, shitty, and flat out boring. Shitty lore alone can make your overall mod garbage. This post isn't meant to talk shit or undervalue anyone's creations, it's just a plea for all mod makers in the future to please try something new and quit doing the whole aftermath of the tragic incident shtick. Any more mods with the basic, he was a 16-year-old male who was injured after the incident, his spine was ripped out and his eyes turned to mush and he did this and then he did this. I'm just instantly not gonna take seriously and treat it like a joke. Please fix the typos, stop making it obnoxiously long, and don't even bother doing the lore unless you have an actual story you wanna tell that isn't just about some random disease caused by random incident. So yeah, this is the whole post that Minister made, and I personally don't think it came out as like passive aggressive or you know mean. I actually don't know this Lamendo mod, so I can be sure about its quality, but about the topic on this post, I actually, for the most part, agree. A lot of times, the lore, usually in the Scratch mods, is just text. It's just text which would describe the characters and the events that would happen. And instead of actually knowing what would happen next, like seeing the events, you just read through all this like it's just some book. And to be honest, it's just quite boring. I think the better example of a fan-made mod that actually had a really good story is Evadare. It only had 3 versions, well, 4 if you actually want to count Galaxy. It had only 3 versions that told a really interesting story. And it told not with just, you know, having all this lore documents about, you know, Raph, Pumpkin Guide world. It actually told through the visuals of it. And for the most part in the Scratch, the whole lore is told by the text, which is just boring. And as Nister said, the lore is just, about, some accident, the disease, and all this goo shit. And then later, in the end, everything comes out like in a fucking Avengers movie, beating like some evil guy or something. Which, yeah, just becomes quite generic, boring, and uninteresting. And to be honest, even Box actually got this issue now. I will be honest, after a fourth version of Box, I kinda started to lose interest in it. Because now the focus went on more so trying to be very detailized, have like these amazing designs, and this confusing lore, rather than actually have somewhat of a good music. Because Box got much popularity not because of the lore or the character designs, but because the music actually tried to be music compared to like other Scratch mods. We'll say that the last version is a bit better than 7th or 6th versions of Box, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. But again, the focus became more so on the lore, especially knowing that Box is actually gonna have 15 versions. Yes, 15 versions! While previously it only had planned 7 versions. Now it's gonna be 15 overall versions. And we already in the 8th version. There's like another issue that I have with some lore stuff in Incredibox Fanmade, is that a lot of people just tend to stretch it out, like have as much versions as possible. And I honestly don't understand why you would have like 20 versions telling the same long story. You're not One Piece. It might sound weird, but to be honest, our box at least tried to make somewhat of an interesting story and telling it through the visuals. Of course, the story itself is shit, and it's very clumsy, but at least it tried to tell its story through the visuals of bonuses. Nowadays, the whole story is just told through the character documents, which the character documents themselves are pretty fine. They can tell some new information about our character, and they can tell an interesting story about our main character. But the thing is, when every character in the mod has a document telling who they are and what they do in the world of the lore, it just kinda makes no sense, like who is actually the main character. And again, in the character dialogues, they mostly focus on what happened to the characters and what events they got in, rather than talking about their characteristics, personality, and some traits. I would rather actually see how the events go rather than read it in the character logs. So yeah, this was my personal rant on this whole lore thing in Incredibox Fanmates, and I would like to know what you think in the comment section below. So yeah, don't be afraid to discuss about it under this video, and I will ask to stay civil and not harass anyone else. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time.